So we've seen how awful gaming computers can be if you buy them from eBay. But what happens if you build your own computer using only parts from eBay? What's up guys, it's Ozzy from OzTalksHW, and this is one of the best value computers I've ever built, and all the components were bought on eBay. It may look like poop, but I promise you, it's better than poop. Not a lot of flashy lights, no RGB, but it's still delightful. Of course, this didn't come without blood, sweat, and tears. This is probably one of the most stressful computers I've ever built on this channel. See, this computer was a build-off between myself, Danny from Nerd on a Budget, and Greg from Salazar Studio. It's a competition series that we're hoping to start called eBay Blitz. We were given a $300 budget to build the fastest gaming computer ever using eBay and nothing else. All three of us jumped in a Discord call and we discussed all the rules in detail. Here's a snippet of the most important ones, but you can find a full list of all of them in the description below. The fourth rule is that you cannot use any local pickups. Everything must be packaged and mailed physically to you.
We're not going to allow pre-built PCs. So for example, no pre-built like HPs or Dell Optiplexes.
Yeah, the next rule ties into that as well. So all products purchased must be added to the final budget. So if an Optiplex costs $100, but you rip out a $20 power supply, you paid $100.
What the line of a pre-built is, out of the 7 components that make up a standard gaming computer, 4 of them you have to manually install yourself. So you can't buy a combo deal with 5 of the 7 components already pre-installed and then you add, say, just a graphics card. That doesn't count. You can't sell the parts in the pre-built or any of the components that you buy and then use the money that you gain from that transaction and add that to your budget.
The testing suite, just to briefly run through that, we have 3 different software suites we're going to use. Cinebench R15, we chose that because depending on how old our hardware is, might not be great with R20. Superposition, which is just like a full-fledged GPU benchmark. And then 3D Mark Firestrike, which kind of is a mixture of both, although it will probably favor the graphics card a bit more. And then the scoring is all weighted based on the best performer in each category.
I also asked you guys what you would do if you had $300 as a budget in your gaming computer, and honestly, the replies made me so proud. You guys had such great answers and you used such wonderful logic. And although you didn't know at the time, this was a way for me to gauge what other people would do if they were in the same shoes as myself. Moving on, the parts hunt started in early December, so about 2 to 3 weeks ago. And as many of you know, I'm a college student, and in school you have exams. And in America, we have a season of our life towards the end of the semester called final exams. It's basically a time where you have to relearn all of the course material within a few days and take a final test. Well, final exams started the first week of December, and the parts hunt was scheduled the first week of December.
You see what the problem is?
I wish I could capture the stress and the adrenaline that the situation created, but unfortunately I was doing all of this in a public space while I was studying, so I couldn't record any of it. So all I can give you right now is an updated walkthrough of my thought process while all of this was happening. So obviously the computer is already built, but I'm gonna walk you guys through my process. First things first was the storage. We all decided that we were going to buy this specific SSD, which helped me a lot. Having something that I knew I had to buy, it grounded me. So we really only had about $270 to work with in our budget. I looked at all 3 benchmarks and I was like, okay, which one is it possible for me to definitely win in? I chose Cinebench R15. If you have a lot of cores, you're minus a few exclusions here and there, you're probably going to win. Initially, I went for LGA 1366, but I thought about it. Probably not the only one with this idea. The maximum core number that you can fit with a $300 budget is probably 6 cores. So if I go for 8 cores, then I'm almost guaranteed a win in that benchmark department. After watching like 10 Phil's Computer Lab videos, I decided upon the Xeon E5 2670. So the hardest part after that though was finding the motherboard. Initially, I searched for X79 motherboards. I was hoping to get a Huayan, I'm not sure, but one of those X79 boards, but they came straight from China if you want it cheap. I decided to search for LG 2011 motherboard instead, and HP workstation motherboards came up. I decided upon the HP Z240. My one fear with this motherboard, though, was that the Xeon E5 2670 wasn't on the official supported list by HP. So I was like, okay, I don't know if it's actually gonna work, but I'm gonna trust God right here and just pull the trigger and hope that it turns out great. One of the best parts of picking up a workstation platform was that you can capitalize on cheap memory. 16 gigs of ECC DDR3 memory, and I came across this for like $20, no, it was like $18. I was like, perfect, done deal. I don't have to think about that anymore. Something that I actually almost forgot was the cooler. I looked up LJ 2011 cooler, and all of these were super expensive. Am I gonna have to spend like $40 just on the CPU cooler? But then after that, I just looked up CPU cooler. I realized that most of these coolers probably won't have LJ 2011 in the title, but in the description. So I just looked up CPU cooler, and I came across this Deep Cool Gamex. I saw that, I was like, okay, ordered it, adding it to the cart. I think I had about like maybe 120 maximum for the case, the power supply, and for the video card. The first thing that came to my mind was RX 470 and RX 570, and that was the like smart choice, the obvious choice. But I thought that I could fit like a GTX 980 Ti or something in this, or maybe like a Fury or whatever. I don't know what I was thinking. I thought I was gonna maybe find like a broken or busted one for like $50, but considering that I was already risking the CPU on the motherboard, I looked up RX 470, I added that to the cart, and that was it. Lastly, we had the case and the power supply. So the power supply, guys, let me tell you, the power supply was a complete trip. So I searched 500 watt power supply on eBay, and of course you're gonna get like these absolutely cheap garbage options right here. It was tempting, I won't lie. Lord knows that like I was tempted to buy these. I came across this Antec power supply. 500 watts, I was like, okay, that should be enough. But then I saw a 600 watt model for like $1 more, and I was like, okay, that gives me a little bit more leg room. So I ordered this one. About an hour and a half later, I ordered the 600 watt one, canceled this one, but then I realized that neither of them had a 6+2 pin connector for the video card. A few days later, I found this power supply, the Seasonic one, and I was like, this is perfect, 520 watts. It's from a reputable brand, and it has a 6+2 pin power supply. The last part was the case. Okay, so it's not here now, but initially they were Rosewood cases, you know, like your FBMs, those very basic ones with very little options. Initially I was gonna buy that, but my motherboard is full-size ATX. Those only support micro ATX cases, so even if I wanted to, I couldn't. I was a little bit nervous, but then God sent down an angel, and here I found this beautiful case right here. Straight out of like the early 2000s, like 2003, but it's a full ATX tower case. It was only $30 shipped. Cable management options and everything looked pretty bad just from the picture. It was low res, but the seller had like okay feedback. It actually wasn't that good. It was a risk buying this case, honestly. I wasn't sure what I was gonna get. I was like, you know, I don't have any options, so I just have to do it. So I ordered it, and this was the case I decided on. So the parts all arrived within a week, but before continuing, I wanted to ensure that everything worked and that the computer would actually boot and post. I unboxed everything and put the system together. The Gamex 400. That's when I realized that something was wrong. So as it turns out, I need an adapter to get myself to even boot. My 24 pin that powers the motherboard didn't actually fit my motherboard. HP was doing some proprietary wizardry with their motherboards, and they had an 18 pin instead. It's just missing the adapter. Thanks, HP. I ordered a 24 pin to 18 pin adapter for about $11 on eBay, but sadly that put me over budget by $8. But thankfully I stumbled upon the exact same model of my CPU, but $10 cheaper. So I have my adapter, I have the CPU, everything that I need to actually get the computer to boot up. But at this point I still don't know if the processor works because it's not on HP's official CPU supported list. But I took the risk, I plugged everything in, I shorted out the pins, and we got a post. Guys, when I tell you that a weight was lifted off my shoulders, I feel like that's an understatement. I was so ecstatic. With that being said, I got all of my components, I put it together, and I built it. gotta admit, I'm actually surprised by this case. I didn't expect this front panel here. First impressions, this thing is dangerously sharp. I almost cut my fingers taking it out of the box. I honestly don't know where the seller was able to find this case and how they were actually able to sell it for $30 shipped, but I can't complain. I think this is gonna be a really cool, unintentional sleeper gaming computer. With $300 in my pocket and a few hours on eBay, I was able to make something like this happen. A computer with 8 cores, an RX 570, a decent Seasonic power supply, a 240 gigabyte SSD, and 16 gigs of memory. And then a computer case with some personality too. You're probably not going to find a case like this out there. This case surprised me more than I expected. For one, the airflow through the front is pretty bad. There's only a small hole at the bottom, so the computer really isn't going to get a lot of air coming through that direction. But it does have a mesh design on both sides of the side panel, and the motherboard platform is raised up, which gives the motherboard extra airflow for the MOSFETs on the back. Cable management was better than expected. It wasn't awful, but it also wasn't amazing. I've definitely worked in better cases. And then the front LCD panel is just super cool. It really gives this case a lot of personality. Now it does have probes for monitoring. I suppose back in the early 2000s, there wasn't any software to really do that properly, so probes were the best way of doing it. Now they do work. I actually tested one of the CPU probes with a candle and it was increasing in temperature, but unfortunately I wanted to make sure that the case and the build looked clean just for this video, but I will be adding the temperature probes later. As with anything, what have I learned from this entire experience? One, with a little bit of foreknowledge and a little bit of PC background, you can definitely build an eBay gaming PC that works, but there are risks involved. Always go for a high rated seller. Now, I think I definitely got lucky with the case, but the case is something that's not a crucial component. You can technically still build a computer without one. So even if it was a dud, it wasn't gonna be a make or break deal. I'm thinking of what to name this computer. I'm not really sure, but if you guys have an idea, let me know in the comments below. Secondly, I'm not sure what to do with this computer after this competition is over. I have a few ideas, maybe a Minecraft server for my Discord server. I could use it as a secondary computer. I could flip it. I'm not sure. If you guys have ideas, let me know in the comments below. This video is getting a little bit long, so I'm gonna split it into 2 different parts. This was just the build, the hunt, and the parts so you guys can see everything. And then the next video is going to be the benchmarks and then the results of the competition. Make sure you guys check Greg from Science Studios video as well, and then you check Danny from Nerd on a Budgets. That just sounds so weird. Make sure you check out all the other competitors' videos. I will have links in the description for that and then in the comments as well. And then see which one you think is going to be the winner. And let me know what your eBay experiences have been. I've definitely been scammed on eBay before. And I know that sometimes your luck with eBay can be really, really rough, but if you just know a lot of the telltale signs of a scammer or of a bad seller, you can usually avoid those. Beyond that, make sure you guys follow me on all socials at OzTalksHW and leave a like if you loved it, share, subscribe if you loved it as well, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.
And now my spirit